Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Friends, very good morning to you. I deem it an honor to stand in front of you and share my views on the subject. Wood is a living entity. It is an organic material which lives even after I don't need it was cut down, because wood has an urge to live. Its spiritual quality is realized by wise people around the world. One of them, George Nakashima, a sensitive craftsperson, says in his book, The Soul of a Tree, a tree provides most intimate contact with nature. A tree is like an avatar, an embodiment of the immutable far beyond the pains of man. In a sense, shaping of timber is our karma yoga, the path of action we must take to lead to our union with the divine. Nakashima practiced it in his life and proved it. We are fortunate that Nakashima happened to come to India and spent some time in Pondicherry as well as in Ahmedabad. And he further says that each tree, each part of each tree has its own particular destiny and its own special relationship to be fulfilled. We roam the world to find our relationship with these trees. Like all true artists, craftspersons working with wood are not mere designer makers of products, but they are seekers of spiritual attainment. They make the wood live again. India is one of the very few countries in the world where craft is a living tradition. It's an industry sector where maximum number of people are employed not singly, but with the whole family. I focus a little bit on India as one of the developing countries. We fortunately have a tradition of reverence to trees. There is universal thinking. According to the census of India, in the tribal village, there is a custom that you can't cut down a tree coldly and selfishly. If a man wants to cut down a tree for building a house or making furniture, the man has to select a well-grown tree, worship it first, and apologize to it and seek its permission for taking its life for his own life. Then he has to apologize to the birds, snakes, and insects living on the tree for taking away their home to build his home. Then he has to apologize to all animals and birds who benefit by the tree shade, its fruits and flowers, for taking away their benefit for his selfish benefit. Can they please oblige and find an alternative? This is the kind of ecological reverence and universal brotherhood is there since ancient times in India, even in the illiterate people. Tree is God, literally, in India, because trees and plants are considered sacred in Hinduism. Worshipping plants and trees and seeking divine grace is an age-old tradition still existing in India. Trees such as peepal, banyan, and bilva are grown in sacred places and are worshipped with reverence. Plants such as tulsi are grown inside the courtyard and the balconies of every household, decorated and ritually worshipped every day. The wonder of India is that the past coexists with the present. Some of these, you see, the bamboo has been always seen in the hands of Krishna, the one of the popular gods of Hinduism. And the varieties of wood uses, like this is a sandalwood, the fragrant sandalwood, and highly lubricant rosewood. We use it for worship. And this practice is not past. This is even today. This is, of course, how even before the paper was invented, palm leaf, the humble palm tree, the leaf is used for, writing. And some of them last for a very, very long time. And many families in Tamil Nadu and other places in the south, they still have the manuscripts, centuries old. The other aspect of wood use is that many of the crafts use, either they use the fast growing trees like bamboo and cane, or they use parts of the trees such as leaves, bark, fiber, shells, branches, rather than cutting away the whole tree. There are many examples. This is bamboo and cane. There are examples of, for example, this is the leaf. Even today you find it in many places, particularly in festivals and ceremonies. It is customary to use a banana leaf. Banana grows plenty, banana, coconut and palm grow plenty in countries like ours. And tree branches are used. This is coir, a bag made of coir. There are hundreds of products made of banana fiber and coir and tree branches, and this is a doormat. This is small parts of the wood of the tree. You don't have to cut the whole tree, but the branches of the tree and twigs are used by turning. Mostly this is the process of turning. By turned wood is used for toys, for furniture, for such small things, dolls and all that. Almost all parts of the tree, such as palm, banana and coconut, are designed, made and used for many purposes. This is furniture. This is the palm tree, an umbrella made of palm tree, which you will still find in villages. This is actually date, a fan made of the branch of the date. So, which is for fanning. Then what are the development issues? I categorize them. There are three mainly: wood for the living, wood for the dead, and wood for the industry. The developing countries, which I call the majority world, wood is one of the most easily accessible resource to people. Countries like India and China reel under the pressure of population explosion, which the results are not able to cope with. These countries are too burdened with providing basic survival necessities such as food, shelter, health and education to the increasing number of people to preserve their forest wealth. Faced with struggle for survival, people resort to any method to acquire wood, and government regulations and laws are inadequate to control. Wood is a daily survival requirement as a cooking fuel for people in the rural areas, since alternative sources are neither available nor costly. Wood is also often the only accessible resource for poor people for building houses, fences, furniture and other household requirements. Now, wood for the dead, it's particularly for the Hindu religion, which cremates their dead. Even today, many people prefer burning with wood for sentimental reasons. rather than using even if the gas and electric crematoriums are available. So precious wood like sandalwood is burnt away by rich people, while the poor who cannot afford use other woods. This is a strong sentiment, and it continues till today. Of course, the most eco-friendly disposal of the dead is by Parsis, who keep the dead body in a tower of silence as a food for the vultures. Then we come for the wood for the industry or industrial development, which has brought in a demand on agricultural and forest lands, a perennial kind of demand. Apart from population pressure for housing, the increasing number of airports, stadiums, and express highways, which eat away a lot of land which was earlier used for growing crops, fodder, and trees. So the more exploration of wood is by industries such as paper and pulp industries and furniture, packaging. In the modern times of globalization and internet, where distance is dead, the wood resource of one country can have significant effect on the larger number of people of another country. Forests cover 26.6% of world's land area. Out of that, developing countries account for more than half, 56.8% of the world's forest. But the developing countries export mainly unprocessed wood and logs rather than finished products, creating thus an alarming situation for the future of the majority world. In the globalized economy, selling raw material rather than processed and finished product is colonization. However, I see that there is some hope for future sustainability. This comes from the green awareness which is increasing among young people thanks to the education in which the green awareness has been put in, and many young people have now started many ways of conserving and planting trees and conserving wood. Etc. Environmental education has become part of the schools and colleges. And there is, of course, the green movement. It's the second indication that the survival needs often force people in the developing countries to protest against cutting trees at mass scale. In this respect, in the 1970s, there is a Chipko Andolan in the Uttar Pradesh of India, where women have hugged the trees to prevent contractors licensed by the government from clearing forests. These people were dependent on forest for survival. The protest worked very well, and the forest was saved. Obviously, people went against the law, but they had the moral authority which prevailed. Many other smaller movements like this have started based on the success, and they are saving trees against commercial exploitation by the industries. Then there is green guarding, the third indication, which is protection by tribals. India has vast tribal populations who stay in the forest, and for good or for bad, modernity and industrialization has not fully embraced them. The tribal people know their livelihood depends on the forest for food, for hunting, for shelter, for herbs, and other basic life necessities. So, as major stakeholders, they take great care of the trees. They have realized that the development in terms of building roads and bridges and exploitive development is not the right one for them. So there are three ways of greening: planting trees and protecting existing ones, processing of the wood, and end products in wood. In all the three areas, design can make an important and sensitive contribution. I would like to show you some examples. One is, some of the kind of aesthetic qualities of wood have not been fully exploited. The fragrance, such as sandalwoods, the lubrication, such as rosewood, the melody of the bamboo and other musical instruments, the toughness, the resonance, the healing, these properties have not been very well used. And also, using all grades of timber is not properly done. Designer can help reduce the waste, tree waste, by utilizing all the grades of timber yielded by a tree, then specifying only the highest grade, which uses only one portion. Here is one example by George Nakashima, which I mentioned earlier. It's a redwood coffee table. It's got great sculptural qualities because the graining is so convoluted. The tabletop seems to have emerged directly from the material, and this is the root he has used. Many times the root is not used because of its irregular shape. But this is where innovation comes in, that you could use it and make a piece like this. So I will show you some classic furniture designs where designers have used the various qualities of wood and produced low cost, light, and yet very beautiful pieces. This one is by Charles and Reims. It's an organic chair and low cost at that time. Now it is, I think, the costliest chair, but it's the most popular chair still in production. It is molded plywood. Charles Eames and his wife Reims have worked for 6 years on making this technology possible. A good design needs a kind of technology to support it, and this one is worth these 6 years which these two great people have spent, and finally it has become a landmark in light and low cost furniture. This one is another well-known furniture designer, Alvar Aalto. He also used the layering technique to bend wood. Another example by him. See this here, we could clearly see how the wood has been bent, and he used those lines to enhance the beauty of the stool. Molded plywood chair by Ron Arad. This is the beauty of this is wood can be made so thin, like it's like a paper sculpture. This is a bent chair, steam bent chair by Mark Newson. And this one is by Ron Arad. How technology can help. You see this knot, it's a knot made by, of course with hand also craftsmen can do it, but now the CNC machine, the routing technology, form 3 pieces of wood. This is a gardening bench, Jurgen Bay. This is made of hay, organic matter, leaves, twigs, etc. They are mixed with resin, pressed and extruded. The straw bowls, they're made of straw. These are totally organic. There's no resin used here. It's only coated with beeswax. This one by another great designer, Philip Stark. It's a molded chipboard TV. This is a layered wood bathtub by Thilo Nausch. He used the boat building technique to make this wood bathtub. See, he used that sensual qualities of wood, warm, scented, and he wants to give that experience. And this is, of course, the grain, the natural grain of wood, how beautifully it looks. So wood technology can shape wood, and wood can be used for new technology devices. This, I have put some of the Indian chairs, Muda, which is made of cane, which is very beautiful and light. And some other products by India, it's used even now in parties, etc. It's made of only leaves. Eating in leaves is a tradition which we have. Now this is the molded leaves. Then this is banana bark, which is also used for eating, which is very light. And this is made of, normally the many parts of the wood are thrown away when they're chips. This is made of chip, exactly like in textiles, what happens in applique work applique work is used for fabric. This is another chair. This is wood can be used for, like we have seen the TV. Why not wood can be used for modern products? May it be cameras, may it be, here in this case it's a laptop, it could be even cars, it could be many other things which could be used creatively by designers. But designers, what I call mindful design, designers create products and environments using parts of the tree and reuse wood creatively, encourage planting trees and discourage extravagant use of wood. And lastly, designers don't only deal with hardware, they also deal with software, which many times is not kind of recognized. The designers can make strategy designs and policy interventions, which is very important in making people-centered policies and global politics of wood. Designers can create sustainable forest management by designing innovative strategies for protection, growth, and use of wood. The real challenge to a designer is to create more with less, to help elevate poverty by creating beautiful products with abundant, low-cost, renewable parts from the tree, all parts, and encourage planting trees and discourage extravagant use of wood. The real development is not mindless industrialization, which kills trees and create ecological imbalance, but mindful design of products, environments, and policies for using less natural resources, yet create more purpose and beauty, and which aims not to conquer nature, but nurture and enjoy nature. Thank you.